What we're seeing is not just an increase in Muslim population around the world, a very dramatic increase. It holds a much bigger share of the population now than it did in the 1970s. But we're seeing also a radicalization of those Muslim populations and a conscious radicalization of those populations from Saudi Arabia, Iran, and other forces. Now, it hasn't radicalized 100% of them. It hasn't radicalized 50% of them. But what percentage of them does it have to radicalize for it to place a profound question mark over the future of societies with significant Muslim populations? You know, we often talk about how there's not a lot of freedom in the Muslim world. It's also the case there's not a lot of freedom once a Muslim population gets to about 20%. If you look at the sort of statistics on this, if a Muslim population is somewhere between 20 and 50%, it's harder to operate what we in America would regard as a classically liberal society. I think there were three exceptions to that: Serbia and Montenegro, Benin and Suriname in the former Dutch colony. And so those are not, and I don't think those would be regarded as successful models by the United States. So what does it mean, for example, to the Netherlands when they face that situation really within the next generation? Are they going to be a fourth exception to that rule, a state with a 20% Muslim population that is still relatively free, or will they already be reaching accommodations to find ways of not offending those Muslim populations? When you look at this itsy-bitsy news items, 2 schools in Berlin have introduced separate entranceways now for Muslim students and non-Muslim students. You're already seeing signs that the European response to this will be forms of segregation, in forms of restrictions on the speech of everybody in order to accommodate certain minorities. That is not going to be a successful way to go.
People in the audience might say you're walking a fine line here, that what you're saying sounds racist. But I want to draw your argument out to make the point that isn't the case. And what I want to address is something you say. You say global jihad lurks within Islam, and Islam is a political project. And the example that you were just giving was suggesting that there is in Islamic culture a lack of division between what we consider to be secular and what is considered to be religious, which goes back to this whole problem of the separation of the state from religion that Islam never mastered. And I gather that's the point that you're trying to make, that there is an insinuation in Western society where what we call multiculturalism opens us up to not dealing well with this contradiction.
No, I think Islam differs from Christianity, say, in that it is an explicitly political project, and indeed an explicitly imperial project too, that I think Muslims are enjoined, in effect, to eventually bring the entire world within the house of Islam by conquest. That was the way Muhammad saw it. He was a great warrior. He didn't do the Jesus thing. With Jesus' final words to his disciples before he ascended into heaven were, it told them to go to all the cities in the known world and persuade people. So you look at how Christianity developed. It percolated up from the lowest members of society eventually up to the top. If you look at the way Islam advanced, it advanced mainly by conquest. I think that difference is built into Islam.